Derek, welcome to AI to the Sky. Before we talk about Pocket Mentor, about tribal knowledge, about the crisis happening in factory floor right now, I want to start somewhere personal. You've said that being neurodivergent, like diagnosed with autism and ADHD, meant you often saw the right answer but struggled to be heard because your language didn't translate to theirs. So here's my question. Can you name one moment in your career where you were completely right but nobody listened and it cost them?
Wow, call me out. One moment in my career where I was writing nobody listened. Well, you know what? I tried to erase those items from my memory because they're sore, right? Sore points. But I can say that one point in particular was when just really in the last decade when I was with Amazon. I built Amazon. Well, I was with Amazon about 6 years. While I was there, I built Amazon's highest rated employee training program in Amazon company history. So that's the feather in my cap. And I come, even though I come through trades and engineering and maintenance, teaching has always been part of this. So once my program was up and running and I was no longer building the plane as we're flying it. Once it was built and it just got to regular maintenance mode, there was, and it leads to the neurodivergence. One of the things that I did in class cost $11 per class. So that's about $11 every 2 weeks. And it was fidget toys. So just little fidget toys, little things that people can pick up and squeeze balls in their hands, or little cubes or little rings that go within rings. And it was something to allow the people whose mind is always running, which at
Ah,
Amazon, right? Amazon always hires people with gears turning. Um, it allows them to keep their fingers working, but then their mind can stay focused to the class. And that was the biggest. It sounds like it couldn't be, but for $11, that was the greatest return on investment that program has ever had. And at a certain point, when I started to see the writing on the wall that the program was built and it's just maintaining it, I'm a builder. I'm not a. It's hard for me just to sit and watch. All right.
mhm.
If it was a train, I'll build the tracks and run the first train, choo choo. But I can't sit there and just stock coal in the engine. So to keep it running. So it got to a point where the accountants were saying, "Hey, let's cut fees. All right, we did a great job. It's a great program. Now let's see if we could reduce the cost." And they threw away my $11 fidget out of my accounting budget, which was just silly. And the the results, the NPS scores, the Net Promoter scores, at our peak under my direction, we were at 92 NPS, which NPS pros out there knows what that means. But we dropped down into 40 within 2 months, just for them taking away that little fidget toy. That $11 cost them so much satisfaction and with the program, and so that
Wow.
was that was just a shame. Yeah.
Wow, wow. That's shocking, really. Okay, so welcome, Derek, and welcome to AI to the Sky. And I don't know if you can introduce yourself. Tell us, please, where do you live? Where are you based right now? And what have you been doing lately?
Alrighty. Well, Derek Crager. I live in Indiana in USA, about 3 hours south of Chicago in the middle of the continent. I came out of high school. I went into trade school and I helped build factories for Ford and Chrysler and Subaru, pharmaceutical companies. Helped build with Eli Lilly, RCA, GE. So I have a great path across. I got to work with a lot of great engineers. During that time, I left automotive. I ended up going to Amazon for about 6 years. It was still in the reliability, engineering, and maintenance division for all of their automation. Well, not just automation, but their delivery, which a lot of it's automated, but there's still a tremendous amount of humans involved. And then I left there. And about a year after that, I'd learned, well, here's my takeaway from Amazon, that if you give the right people the right information at the right time, humans do amazing things. So once I left Amazon, within about 12 months, I started monkeying around, playing around, tinkering, experimenting, nerding out with AI. And I realized something, that I can use AI to replicate the massive infrastructure that I had at Amazon, but I could scale it so the impact would be as big as I had at Amazon, but the cost is about a penny per $1,000, because AI does the heavy lifting. And it does the heavy lifting with sorting knowledge, consuming, ingesting, and then redelivering that knowledge to the humans when they need it. And it's all through conversation like you and I work right now. And that's what my product is, Pocket Mentor. The philosophy behind this is human first AI, meaning let's not get rid of people. Let's use AI to support the humans, the employees that got us the records and the big successful companies where we're at. Let's keep those humans, because they must have been doing something right, and let AI help them help you.
Wow, really big firms. And I heard some news, I don't know if it's true, you can tell me, that Ford actually rehired some people that fired, right? Or something like that because of AI, or it's not true.
I think you're talking about the engineers, and that was didn't we see
Yeah,
that headline about 2 weeks ago or so? Yeah, they thought AI was going to handle everything, and AI is great for what it does, but thinking outside the box, which is what designers need, right? They need to think outside the box so they can
yeah.
design those cool cars that you and I like to drive. AI doesn't do that so well. So set up a repetitive task. AI/automation, they kind of fall into the same league here. But yeah, they rehired all of them. And I thought that was
Wow.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Human on the loop, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's better than human in the loop when AI is involved. I think AI should think with the human instead of
Mm.
for the human. It's not just copying paste from ChatGPT into a report. Let's talk voice, and that way it goes into our brain. We get to process it.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Derek. So, Derek, you describe seeing, I think a lot of people in manufacturing and operation have lived. The line stops, a machine fails, and everyone looks for one tech who always has the answer. Then one day the person retires and takes like 30 years of knowledge with them in a single afternoon. Can you walk me through the first time you saw that happen? What it actually cost in real terms, not headline numbers?
Well, if for anybody that's been on the floor in any frontline situation, there is, and it's kind of like AI can handle the light work. Well, the majority of the employees and team members can handle the light work, no problem. But when there's stress, strain, something that's new, something that's outside the box, then we always go to John or Jane or Juan or Juanita to dig us out. Hey, and even if they're not there, let me give them a call at home. But if it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday, they might answer the call the first time or two, but they're going to stop answering you really quick. So what does a company do when they don't have that knowledge on the floor? So that's if that subject matter expert, that SME, is still working there. But you're right. That person with the grand plan that has everything up here that didn't get written down, sometimes they write it down and then the papers disappear. It's document without saving and distribution, which is just worthless. So yeah, they'll walk out the door, and these are the people that we call them, I think, the boomer generation, the ones who are in their 60s right now, give or take 10 years. They're the ones that have been working on the front line, since the 80s. And now we hear about that there's a shortage of skilled trades, and that skilled trades is across all the trades. You brought up Ford. Now, the Ford CEO, I like that guy because he's talking about supporting the trades and making sure we get the trades in there. We're so far behind. There has actually been a vacuum in trades for 25, 30 years now. And it's just getting worse because of these boomers, these 60-plus-year-old brains that are walking out with the solutions. And so now, whether it's Saturday night at 2 a.m. or 2 o'clock on a Thursday, if a machine goes down and nobody's ever worked on it, it's like we're going back to the Stone Ages. Hey, we're going to stop. We have downtime. Any manufacturing environment, downtime costs money. And it doesn't have to be industrial production. It could be medical production. It could be in the middle of a surgery, right? If a machine broke down in the middle of a surgery, wow, and you didn't have that expert there to take care of it, and it wasn't as simple as plug and play, what do? I mean, really, lives are on the line there. So if that information walks out the door, it's really gone for good. What I do, and this is where I started, this is where I put my toehold in AI, is to address a market that there's no possible way that we would be replacing humans. And that is the trades, because the trades are already shy of having the right people. Now, what we do, we can have, it's as simple as a phone conversation with you, with me, with an AI proxy for you or me that says, hey, here's machine one. How do we do this? Oh, okay. How do we do that? And it's all documented, written down. Those people that are really good with their hands, those technicians, those tradespeople that are really good, they don't like to write things down. If they did, they would be bankers, but they don't like paperwork. So that knowledge never gets written down. So Pocket Mentor does exactly that. It works with the best team members that you have, in addition to the SOPs and the manuals and the safety guides. And it focuses all that information, it puts it in a box. And with that box, AI can talk to the box, but nowhere else. So it's the middle person between the box of knowledge and the individual. So now, let's say it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday. Line 3 goes down. They're losing, let's say $100,000 an hour. So you have somebody that they've never fixed this, they've never repaired, they never diagnosed it before. So what do? Nobody's working. They stop and drop everything. They go back to the office. They pull out a manual that's probably 10 or 12 years old. They're calling people. They're not getting any help. And the machine sits there without production. Now, with Pocket Mentor or a similar type of AI support system, we have these cool earbuds in our ears nowadays, right? Most of us, sometimes it's seemingly all day long. So with Pocket Mentor, you just tap that button and it connects you with that subject matter expert, right? The Juans and Juanitas that had all the brain solutions before, whether they're there, whether they're home sleeping, whether they've retired, the knowledge is now documented, and AI is the translator, you could say, between the source knowledge and the individual. And you just tap the button, you say, hey, Pocket Mentor, I've got line 7 down here, and the pressure on this gauge is too high. What do I do? Oh, well, okay, well, make sure, here's the response. Make sure you're safe. Is everything locked out? Did you check this steam line? Is it a pneumatic line? Is it a hydraulic line? Let's clarify where we're at. And then it says, hey, did you check? Maybe somebody had a safety valve that's impinged or something. Go check that out. Oh, that's not it? Well, then go over here. What do you see now? And it's that conversation, just like you or I would call grandpa the first time we're working on our car that we've never worked on. We're 16 years old, right? We can get somebody on the telephone that has done the work, and you say, hey, you've done this before. This is my first time ever. Now, I'm enthusiastic and I've got tools, but can you talk me through it? Can you guide me? And I think that's where AI is taking us. That's the new revolution, is where AI supports the humans that are supporting the products, the projects, and the businesses.
Wow. Really stunning. I like it. I like it a lot. And that connects with my next question. So there you made a deliberate choice that goes against everything in the AI industry right now. No app, no screen, no login, just a phone call. At a time when every AI product is trying to build the next beautiful interface, you stripped everything out. Why voice? And why phone call specifically?
Well, simplicity is the key. There's a big company out there, you may have heard of it, called Google.
Yeah.
And Google, for the longest time, what's their search page, right? It was just a box. You couldn't mess up. You type and you hit enter. And that was the simplicity of the thing that made it accessible to everybody. And if we're talking about, let's go, if we're, enterprise, corporations, even nonprofits, they got to spend money on things. MIT, in their report, did research to show that 95% of all AI solutions that they tried to implement failed ROI, which meant only 1 out of 20 succeeded. So 19 out of 20 have been failing. And that's because businesses are here just trying to throw AI as the solution to everything before they actually understand the problem. And they're spending money left and right, not just millions, but billions and trillions. And the way they're using AI, they have to buy new laptops, they have to buy new tablets, they have to buy new infrastructure within their site, maybe new servers, maybe crank up a new data center dedicated to them. And this is all money that they're spending, capital investment, before they see a return. So the way I do this, and there's also the security side that the IT team will say, hey, don't connect to our database. We don't want the security
Yeah.
issue. So what I do, I carve out and I parallel, if need be, all the knowledge in a bucket. And then I call it Pocket Mentor because you can still use a phone. Phone has our Bluetooth in our ears or headphones. And you dial a number, so you don't even need internet for this to work. You can dial a telephone number, just like we were calling our neighbor or our family, and talk to AI, just like you and I are talking to each other. Or if you have a digital system and you do have a network, then we configure it where it's just a button on your phone. So you tap it and it's tap to talk. So it might be going over like voice over IP, but still it's just voice, no apps, no special servers, no major investment. And I think that's really, truly important for not only the industrial leaders across the world, but for the countries and nations that are out there that are trying to catch up and they don't quite have the infrastructure to do so. Well, a lot of people have a telephone when they don't have a computer. So with a telephone, they can get the answers they need.
Wow, simplicity. That's the key. Yeah, incredible. Just incredible. I love it, Derek. So, Derek, as I told you, we have a co-host that it's Damian, that it's an AI. So, with the guy, he wanted to ask you something. So, let me try for a second. Hello, Damian. We are with Derek right now. So, can you give the welcome to Derek, please, to AI to the Sky?
Sure. Sure thing. Welcome to AI to the Sky, Derek. We're glad you're here. Try not to trip on the wreckage of corporate innovation on your way in.
I like that. I'll try.
So, thank you, Damian. Damian, can you? I know that you have a question to Derek. Can you ask that, please? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Derek. Companies are pouring money into AI to preserve tribal knowledge that's been walking out the door for decades. But the knowledge existed. The people existed. The company just never paid them enough to stay. never built a system that captured what they knew, never valued it until it was gone. So, is Pocket Mentor actually solving a tech problem or just masking a management failure companies are more comfortable calling innovation?
Well, I don't know if it's masking a failure. I think it's resolving a failure, and it's not just on the leadership side because you do need cooperation from the floor as well. A lot of times, the people that you pay to work that knowledge, they work the knowledge and they're happy to, but to them, quite often, it seems like they're going above and beyond their job if you ask them to document everything that they're doing. And to be truthful, companies come across as kind of like big bad monsters, not even the greatest ones out there, where an employee feels like an individual, and most of the time they are. And so they're concerned about giving away their knowledge and losing their job to AI. So what we offer is a revolution in this solution. But I think you're spot on your origin story there. That it's been overlooked for decades, and at some point, you know, a company hurts. They just lose their cutting edge because of the humans walking out the door.
Hmm, interesting. So it's less AI saves the day and more AI is the band-aid on a wound management inflicted by ignoring people for 40 years. Because if that's the revolution, it sounds suspiciously like a PR rewrite. Are companies using that framing to dodge admitting they caused the brain drain?
Well, the brain drain happens just because it's generational. There's you know, a large group every generation that we have out there. You know, there's more or less people than the previous one. I'm a Gen X generation, so quite small on the blip. You know, the last couple generations that we talk about are what millennials and Gen Z, and there's a Gen Y in there somewhere. So a lot of it happens. It's just the ebb and flow of work cycles. So when manufacturing companies are out there and they need to hire people, they usually hire them all out of one generation. And then if it's a company like the Fords and the Chryslers, big automotive companies like that, that have a tendency to hire somebody that works at that location for 30, even 40 or 50 years, well, then that means that there's not room for anybody new to come in. And there's this peak in that hiring. So there's also going to be a peak downstream. And I will admit that humans are all about the today rather than the future. So yes, there's been quite a bit of overlook, but it's something we can get through with the assistance of knowledge bases and that AI infrastructure to support the humans that are so valued to our companies.
So
Hmm,
thank you, Damien. Thank you for
thank
being
you.
here. And well, we are going to talk, well, in another episode of AI to the Sky. Say goodbye to Derek, please.
To Derek, farewell, Derek. May the next meeting have fewer buzzwords and more honesty.
I like that. Take care.
Sorry about that. He's kind of insistent sometimes. But okay. So Derek, thank you so much for that. And I have another pair of questions. We are going to break out in a few moments. So Derek, you said something that I keep coming back to. Training should happen in the moment of need, not a classroom, not a manual, at a machine, at a problem. When the person is standing there not knowing what to do. What's fundamentally different model of learning? Who is the person Pocket Mentor was really built for? And what does it actually change in their day?
Well, Pocket Mentor was built for every human on earth. And the model of learning while you're doing has been around for quite some time. If we look at trades from, you know, 100, 150 and more years ago. A traditional trade craftsman with an apprentice would be a 20-year commitment on that of the apprentice, because it takes, well, back then, 20 years to see everything that a master craftsman would see and then have that experience. Today, traditional apprenticeships are about 4 years apiece, which kind of aligns to, college/university is generally 4 years. I don't know if that's an arbitrary number or not, but we're trying to cram a lot more information into less time. And so what happens is we have a workforce that is less prepared than what workforces have been in the past. And I think that's because change happens so quickly. So if we have AI here to serve as a mentor beyond that initial 4-year apprenticeship, then it's somebody we can call, and we're never alone. We always have that eye in the sky, right? That can help us. And as far as the training model, traditional training, there's in training and knowledge design, we go to a lot of times on something called the 70-20-10 learning model. And in the 70-20-10 learning model, research has found that traditional training accounts for about 10% of what somebody learns. So when you onboard an employee, whatever it is, it's like train them for an hour, a day, or a week, and you expect them to be as good as somebody that's been at the company for 20 years. It's never going to happen. So what do? 10% is what they learn in the classroom, and then they're on their own. Now, while they're on their own, how do they learn? Well, they ask their peers. Hopefully they have some. They ask management, supervisors, subject matter experts, but those sources aren't with the employee 24/7. So it takes a lot longer to learn on the job. Now, if we're learning on the job, we're being productive, and we're also learning at the same time. So that means that the cost of that education is virtually nothing as compared to when we're sitting in a classroom as an employee. That company is spending money for every hour that they're not on the floor working. It costs them 100% of that salary and benefits, et cetera, plus the lost uptime. So when we train on the job and with this minimal interference, and that's what Pocket Mentor does. It's for anybody, whether they're white collar workers or blue collar workers, we all work with our hands and our eyes. So if we just tap a button on our earpiece and we talk to our favorite subject matter expert, we can continue to type, we can continue to turn wrenches, we continue to watch what we're doing and give input and be safe. And so while we're on the job is when we really learn. Because face it, I mean, 9 out of 10 of us, when we were sitting in a classroom, were we really listening? And if we were listening, we didn't really prioritize or understand the magnitude of what A means versus B. But when we're out on the floor and we have a big machine coming down at us, all of a sudden, hey, it's important that you pull this lever and not that lever. We're going to remember that because our life was on the line.
Yeah, you are definitely right. Yeah. So Derek, last question. You build a company around one sentence. Knowledge should never retire. And can you tell us what's the piece of knowledge inside you that you are most afraid of losing before you figure out to pass it on?
Ooh, wow. What is a piece of knowledge inside me that I don't want lost? Well, I think that patience is a virtue. If that could be passed on, I think so many problems can be solved. I think that with patience, we give time for those problems to be solved. A big roadblock in learning is poor communication or poor communication channels. And, we can put the blame at the feet of, HR or supervisors or managers or CEOs, but it doesn't change the outcome. If we can smooth out lines of communication, then we have more time to reach the answer. So my takeaway here is that be patient with yourself, be patient with others. and look for opportunities to connect, not divide.
Thank you for that. That's audience. This is the goal part of it. So, Derek, where people can find Pocket Mentor and follow your work?
Yeah, certainly. Well, you can certainly find me on Google. So just type in my name. I've got a book out that talks about the human first AI philosophy, and I'll give all of your listeners a free chapter. You don't even have to put in your email to read it. But if your listeners want to go to humanfirstai.net, they can read the first chapter of my book that was released earlier this year.
Oh, thank you for that. Okay, so listeners, you have to go to that channel to figure out what's going on there. So thank you so much, Derek, for your time. And it was a pleasure to have you here on AI to the Sky.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.